Hey, this is Danielle from Black Business Boom and Black Owned Nashville. We are live with Brian Sexton from the Damn Podcast, a Chicago native, and I
All
am
right.
always excited to have fellow Chicagoans
Hey,
join me on the show. How are you today, Brian?
I'm good. Thank you for that. Look, I've been waiting for my turn. You've been blowing up. Kudos and roses and everything that we supposed to give you. Go ahead and give it to you right now because you
And I
really is.
take it. I accept it.
I'm telling you, like I
But
look.
back at you because you are doing amazing things, have been moving and grooving and making things happen here in
Mhm.
Nashville for some time. So I'm honored to have you, honored to just be in the presence of another Chicago and making moves here in
Hey,
Nashville.
hey, look. You know how we survive. Nashville has been my home since '99. So you drop
Ooh,
us off anywhere, and we'll make a dollar out of 15 cents
that's
real
all I'm
quick. You know what I'm
saying.
saying?
I
Uh,
love it.
but
I
yeah.
love it. Let's jump in though, because we've had Camille,
Mhm,
we've had
mhm.
T. We've
Yep.
been talking about the podcast, and I really just don't want
Mhm.
people to miss this
Yeah.
because it's so important to our culture
Mhm.
that they catch what you all are doing and
Yep.
that we don't get left behind. And
Right.
at Black Business Boom, we're working, helping Black business owners with digital marketing and to make sure that we're not getting left behind when it comes to online marketing and growing through entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
But that we do that because we have been left behind and we
Yeah.
still catching up. And
Yeah.
so I love that you all are being proactive
Mhm.
in trying to make sure we don't miss this boat. So
Yeah. Mhm.
tell us a little bit about the podcast.
Yeah. So, long story short, digital assets and things like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and all that, it's been around for a while, but I was one of the ones I really never paid attention to it. I mean, I even owned a couple coins, but
Mhm.
didn't really give it any energy. And it wasn't until this pandemic where I got a chance to take some of my weekends and really reflect on some changes I wanted to make. And really, I'm not ashamed to say my age. I'm 41. My parents are a little older, and the more I just really started to pay attention to kind of this digital asset revolution, where like I remember when NFTs first broke and cryptocurrency started surging back. For me, it wasn't as much as, is this a space I can make a quick buck? But I was looking at all this stuff from a software standpoint. Like, what does it mean for our quality of life? Like, blockchain is something that's been around for a while. And I'm looking at it like, okay, I can remember times where my parents have called me to simply, how do you work Facebook, or,
Right,
some of the
right.
things that I was like, y'all didn't, pay attention to some of this stuff. I can remember those times. And we all have parents like that. We all have peers, we have coworkers, we have folks that kind of ignore the first wave of technology. Not that they mean to, it's just human nature. And
Yeah.
quite a few folks kind of snatch on and they ride that wave out and they're able to adapt a little bit easier. So, in my thinking, as I'm watching this digital asset revolution take place and the software related side of all of this stuff, I was like, yo, do I want to be, do I want to sit up here and have to call my daughters to figure this stuff out 10, 20 years later? Or if I can just carve out a little time on the weekends outside of my full-time job to just really study this stuff and keep up with it,
Mhm.
if things do kind of go that way, I won't be so far behind. And so I was like, well, if I do that, I was podcasting already through Great Convo Media Network.
Mhm.
And I was like, yo, if I do this, it'd be dope to do it in a way where I can learn out loud. So it's like my version
Mhm.
of LOL, it's learning out loud. So that's kind of how I got into it. I got into it just to really learn what, various cryptocurrencies meant, more so not for investment purposes. We do talk a little bit about that. We don't give financial advice, but it's more so an elementary style level education of what this stuff means and how can you leverage it, and the software side of it, and what it will mean for folks' quality of life 10, 20 years from now. I decided to kind of package that in a podcast for people to just access for free, because a lot of this stuff that's happening, for those that are paying attention, you have like master classes. Somebody's charging $3,000 for you to learn this stuff.
Mhm.
Somebody's charging a couple. I didn't want to do that. I was like, you know what? The stuff that I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna give it away for free through our podcast. I'm gonna take listeners on a journey. We're gonna meet some really cool people, And yeah, that's kind of the long and short of how I got into podcasting about digital assets. And so I just didn't want to be left behind. Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
41. When we hit 50, will I have to go to an ATM to get my money out, or will the ATM have some sort of blockchain component that I will need to
Mhm.
understand to get my funds out? And I didn't want to do my learning curve stuff up towards 50. Like I want to, I'd rather do it right now. You know what
I
I'm
get
saying?
it. I feel
So
it. I love it.
yeah,
And again,
yep,
like you said, it's like human nature to just be
mhm,
like, this is just a fad. This is just a fad. It's
yeah,
going away.
we all
It's
do it.
not going
Mhm,
away,
yep,
And so
yep,
that's why I'm just adamant about getting the information out
mhm,
because it's not going away. A lot of people thought the same thing about the .com boom that,
same thing, same thing.
I'm not thinking about that. I'll
Yep,
learn it whenever. And now those same folks are still
yeah,
behind. And I know there are people like me who heard about Bitcoin nearly 10 years ago.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm not putting my money in that. And
yeah,
now I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I done missed out,
yep,
right?
yep,
And it keeps happening, to
yep,
us. And
yep,
I mean, if I'd invested $100,
yeah,
10 years ago, imagine
yeah,
where I would be
yeah,
today. And so
yeah.
I love what you all are doing.
Mhm.
So let's talk a little bit about this elementary level
Sure, sure,
education, right?
sure.
Because I've had several people like trying to explain to me NFTs, and it
Yeah.
took about 4 or 5 times for me to really get it. So tell us
Mhm.
what to expect when we go and listen to the
Yeah,
podcast.
absolutely. Well, we have a 3-part plan. Our first plan is to set out. We released about 12 episodes. Those episodes are in circulation. This space is one of those spaces where you're not going to get it all in 30 minutes. Like you really have to dedicate some time to it each day or whenever you have availability.
Mhm.
So the first part was to release podcast episodes on, where we're just having general conversation, right? I bring on some experts and we're just trying to keep things in a Rosetta Stone style level of discussion. The second part in terms of our activation is the community events that we do. So thanks to the local distro, we have our monthly happy hours on the last Friday of every month where we meet up and we just have just again a community style conversation around these things. And then the third part is going to be like workshops and all type of cool conferences. We're actually partnering with Stay on the Go to do Nashville's first all black crypto conference, which would be really cool. And that's happening on June 29th. But in essence of what we discussed on the podcast, it's just things that you probably had questions about, or
Mhm.
it's never too technical. I would go and look for podcasts on cryptocurrency and NFTs and the metaverse and the blockchain, all these things. And I listen to some of these episodes. Sometimes I feel like folks are talking over my head, or it's
Mhm.
just really intimidating. And so we try to keep that in mind. And it's a very complicated issue to talk about, but it's doable, it's feasible. In
Yeah.
this space, you just have to stay consistent. And so, for me, keeping it as elementary as possible is one, but keeping the conversation going is another, because in this space, especially in a tech space, again, the lens that I'm looking at cryptocurrency through is a lens of software. Like I'm not, when I
Mhm.
make investments in like Bitcoin, I'm not looking at it as like currency per se, but I'm looking at it as far as what it means on the software side.
Mhm.
What could it do as it pertains to the blockchain and like ETH and all these other various currencies. So that's kind of the lens I look through this stuff. But as far as like trying to make it understandable to where my 7-year-old daughter can understand it, or my 70-year-old my father back at home can understand it, it's really just being consistent in conversation and finding ways to share information that folks can kind of eat and digestible pieces. But the most important part is that it's someone of color that is doing
Mhm.
it, that's credible. They're not out to rob you or like scam you, right? Oftentimes when we look at the digital asset space, it's like middle-aged white men, older white men. They're first to lead conversations
Yeah.
at different tech conferences. They're first to lead cool conversations in spaces like this, and that's fine. Like I'm not trying to make it
Yeah.
a race issue, but what I'm simply saying is there needs to be some balance to the force a little bit. So for me, when I was looking up podcasts and the type of podcast I wanted to deliver, I could not find any folks of color dishing out information that I resonated with. And so I was like, what the hell? Like, and if the few that I found, I probably found like, 30, 40 podcasts that talking about digital
Mhm.
assets. and maybe only like 3 from, folks, somebody that's Black. And that didn't feel right to me. So I was like, let me just start my own podcast, and
Yeah.
hopefully someone that is looking for someone that's talking about this of color would connect with me and kind of participate in our community. But we just try to keep things really simple. We don't try to go off the edge too much, in regards to your original question. But
Mhm.
for me, the other side of that is seeing people of color in this space, leading conversations at conferences, leading conversations at podcast table, leading conversations on YouTube. It's communities of color that are participating in this. And it's not necessarily so one-sided. So
Yeah, I love it. And I'm telling you,
mhm,
last year is when we really started to learn a little bit more about the metaverse.
yeah, yeah,
And I love technology and I'm a fan. And I was like,
yep,
I ain't fooling with it,
yeah,
Like I
yeah,
was like, I'm not like I was like, I'm gonna
yep,
live my
hmm,
regular 3D life and I'm
yeah,
not fooling with this metaverse.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I quickly had to come to my senses and like, first of all, I'm a business owner.
yeah,
I need to be looking at this
yeah,
through the lens of a business owner. What are the
yeah,
opportunities?
yep,
What will happen to my business if I decide I don't want to fool with it?
yeah,
And that's what we don't do a lot of times. We want to have successful businesses,
yeah,
but we're missing some of the things because we don't particularly care for them. So
yeah. Or we
when I
wait too
talk to
late.
folks, I'm like trying to help them with their social media strategy,
Yep.
and they like, I just hate social media, and I'm like, I hate it too, but I also like money,
That's
So
right.
are we gonna miss out on this money, or are we gonna get
That's
this
right.
money,
Well, look,
So
think about the social media revolution. That's a great point, right? Like first, folks came, and we all have a set of friends, and we love them. We rock with them, like you know what I'm saying.
mm,
But they was like, "Yo, I'm not fooling with Facebook." Right?
mm,
They totally
mm.
dismissed Facebook, and then Facebook became just this mass adoption, and they didn't have a choice for the most part.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Now they're on
few
Facebook,
sprinkled in,
right?
but
And then it was like, all right, I'm gonna stop at Facebook. And then along something called Instagram came along, and it was
right.
like, it's too
And
much.
what about all the
Yeah.
folks that said they wasn't getting on TikTok and now they the main
Hello,
ones, right?
hello,
And they older, they 40, 50, and they
right?
telling me like, I'm just thinking this TikTok.
And look at how disruptive TikTok has become, right? Look how disruptive TikTok has become to the music industry. We're no
Mhm.
longer like you blow up off your record 9 times out of 10 on how well you can trend on TikTok. That's
Yeah,
like disruptive is. Can we curse
yeah.
on here? I don't mean, let me curse.
It's so
It's,
disruptive
but
that
you feel what I'm
Facebook,
saying?
Instagram,
Absolutely.
YouTube, they all
Right.
have shorts, reels,
Right.
something to
Right.
compete with
So
TikTok,
so
right?
here's
So
my
it's the things that we waiting on them to go away or fade out, and
and they
they're just getting greater.
so here's my point to our listeners out there that kind of on the fence, and we love you. Well, the church doors will be remain open for you. The porch on the light will stay on for you. All right. The same thing you saw happen with Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all these things that you were like, and then eventually it just mass adoption happened. It's just like that with like blockchain. It's just like that with some of these other currencies that have true utility, not the pump and dumps, not the
Mhm,
coins. Somebody hits you and then
mhm,
it goes up really fast, and then you feel like you're missing out. We call that FOMO.
mhm,
And then you get in, and then it drops, and he's like, I hate this space. I know I shouldn't listen to that. We're not talking about that. If I can leave you with anything, start looking at these different digital assets for through a software lens. Like, what does it mean on the software side of things? Because
mhm,
then you're able to use your investor cap to say, I'm not just investing in a coin to get rich in a pump and dump scheme. I'm investing in a coin because this coin is tied to some sort of smart contract technology that helps,
mm.
you know, road improvements,
Yeah,
music or something that's tied to real technology. And that'll kind of help you, kind of shift through all the bullshit that's out there. Cause it is
mhm.
jokers. It's
It is.
jokers in every deck. But I would highly recommend that you start looking at this as a software type of game instead of like,
Yeah.
you at the boat and you trying to play the slots. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think again, it's just fear, a
Yeah.
lot of fear
Yeah.
of the
Yep.
unknown.
Yep.
And I totally understand it because, like I
Yeah.
said, when the metaverse hit, I was like, no,
That
I'm
was
not,
wild. It was wild.
I'm not doing
And
it. I don't want to be bothered, and
yeah.
now I'm like, okay, let me figure this thing
Yep.
out,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
luckily we are still in a space where there's so many people learning
Absolutely.
that it's
Absolutely.
not like if
Ab-
you ask a question,
yep.
nobody's gonna be like, that's a stupid question,
R-
like because
Right.
a lot of us are in this space of trying to figure it out. So I don't feel like I feel like I'm fairly smart, but I
Yeah.
don't feel like I feel ridiculous by being like, I still don't understand NFTs,
We are so early. If you ever, it sounds cliche to say we are building a plane as we fly it. Like we
Mhm,
are literally building a plane as we fly through what the blockchain means to our society, what Web3 will mean in terms of the changes
mhm,
that it's making. We just had an awesome conversation with Denise Joseph, and she was able to break down the blockchain and Web3, and it was just we are so
mhm,
early. The investment side, see, some folks get this tangled up. All right, so if you have some folks in your friend circle and they invested in crypto and they've
mhm.
been in it for a while, okay, the investment side, depending on what coins and things of that nature, if you, yeah, you may be a little late, but there's new stuff happening all the time that you can really
Mhm.
research, make a good investment in, and really do well. But the education side, with the side that I'm most attracted to, is super early. All right, so it's better late than never in regards to you really just grabbing on and just feeding yourself a little bit of the stuff, spoon feeding yourself in baby portions.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have to like become a blockchain master overnight. Nobody does that. But what I'm simply saying is, if you have about 10-15 minutes, go ahead and just start looking up things about the blockchain and things about this, and just make it part of your daily
Yeah.
ritual, whatever you do, because I'm telling you, this is one part where you don't want to wait too late to learn about all
Mhm.
this stuff.
Yeah.
The quicker you kind of can get a hold of some of this stuff and then figure out whatever you like in it, like if you like
Mhm.
really, it's a bunch of stuff that you can learn about in
Oh,
regards to the
yeah.
digital asset space. But if you become really, good at NFTs, you can make some money off that, right?
Mhm.
If you become really good at the metaverse, I know people that are doing events in the metaverse, and
Yeah.
even that's still developing. But you're not late, so don't let the commercial lies, think
Yeah.
conversations make you feel like I'm too late for the space. We're like super early, like
And I just
super
want
early.
us again, for me, and I'm not gonna get too deep
Yep.
into
Yep.
my feelings, but
Okay.
I
Yep.
feel like we are intentionally left out of a lot
Oh,
of
absolutely.
spaces, and
Absolutely.
that's always been the case. And on the flip side, I've realized that many times we're invited
Yeah.
and we don't show up, right? And so a lot of times they inviting us just to say that they did because they know we ain't showing
That's
up,
right.
right?
That's
And
right.
so
That's right.
they're like, the information's out here. It's up to them to show up and get it, right? I see
That's
it
right.
happen all the time, especially here in Nashville. They're like,
That's
we
right.
put some black folks, we invited our token black folks,
That's
and
right.
they, the other ones just didn't show up. And
You
so I
That's
just
such a
think
good
it's
point.
so important that we show up for ourselves.
That's
Like
such
we
a good point.
can't
Yep.
continue to get left behind, even
Yep.
though sometimes that's intentionally done.
Yep.
The information is out here. You have people who look like you that are committed to giving it to you, presenting it in a way that you
Mm.
understand. So it's up to us to
Yeah.
show up and get it. So
Yeah.
that's all I got to say
No, no,
on the
hey,
topic. But
that's a mic drop within itself, because no, it really is, because it's all about who controls the narrative, right? A lot of things are like that. Whoever's first to the narrative and whoever can control it controls the flow of information and controls the
Mhm.
influence of that space. And in this space here in Nashville, me and my team, T, Camila, Keith Holloway, Mark Jackson, the whole Lionel Matthews, like our team, we're like, yo, again, we're not here to we don't give financial advice. We just
Mhm.
give out information so people can keep up with the times, because the space it changes every single day.
Mhm.
So we're like, yo, we gotta add some balance to this,
Yeah.
because it can't just be one group controlling the narrative of how things play out in Nashville. And that's why we linked up with Shantaz Crawford and Stand to Go June 29th at the Entrepreneurship Center. We're
Okay.
doing a crypto community, crypto focused conference, and it's targeted to folks of color that
I
really
love
want to learn about Web3, NFTs. They want to learn about the metaverse. We're going to lay all of that out. We have some awesome speakers that we have confirmed, and we're just really just trying to take it one brick at a time. We're not trying to be the end all be all. We're just trying to be an
Mhm.
option in your learning toolkit So when you do, if you're looking at this and you're like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna give it a. I'm gonna cut some time out to really learn. Then you have an option. You don't
Yep.
have to necessarily dive through YouTube,
I
although
love
YouTube
it.
has some good, resources on there. But
I love it.
you have an option here locally in town that you can lock in with. So
Yes, that you can lock in
mhm.
with online streaming
And it's
on the
been awesome to work
podcast,
with you.
but
Like,
also in person
oh,
at the end of
absolutely.
every month.
Hmm.
So I'm super
Yep.
excited about the meetups that happen. Again,
Yep.
another opportunity for you to show up in real life and
Yeah.
ask your questions and get to know other folks that
Yep.
are learning along with you. So tell folks, I
Mhm.
dropped the link. The
For
Koji
sure. Okay. Yep.
link is
Yep.
in the caption.
Yep.
But tell us how else we can make sure that we're keeping up with the damn podcast, listening
Yep.
to the podcast, and
I'm gonna
learning
tell
about
y'all. I'm
it.
gonna tell y'all. Yeah, this is a secret. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Support Black Business Boom. That's how you keep up with us, cause we rocking with them. They
Yeah,
it ain't no secret. Like,
I love
yo,
it.
the ecosystem that this young lady has built with her colleague, the way they got busy on Facebook is just hands down like that's what we need to be. So if you want to find us, you got to subscribe to the Facebook page. You got to lock in
Yeah.
with Danielle. If she tells you she can come out to your business and make it, pop off, look, do it. Okay,
I'll
so
be telling them, but
I'm just
that's another
I'm
story.
just saying. I'm just saying. But we're online. If it's at the damn podcast _. You can find us by clicking that link. We also, like I said, we partner with Danielle to run like we're trying to really be intentional about community. So we're gonna give you some news that's happening in the industry. Let's say you're not a podcast person. Like,
Yeah.
I don't fucking do podcasts. I don't like podcasts. I don't do them. How else can I learn? Then we partner with Danielle. We drop news on the
Doing the
digital
news
asset
break,
industry
look
every
for the news
Wednesday.
break.
Yep, we're firing that back up. We just went on vacation. We're coming back from vacation, so every Wednesday we're dropping the news. Right, we don't drop it. We're not dropping it anywhere else. We're dropping it right here in the Black People
Black
Making
people
Moves
making moves.
Facebook
Love it.
page. We're dropping it right here. So yeah, like if you want to find us, you got to find Danielle.
I
She's the
love it.
plug. Danielle's the plug.
Fantastic. But make sure you go to the
Oh, for sure.
Instagram.
I'm
Go
not,
to the Instagram.
yo,
The link is right there at the damn podcast _ on
look, let me
Instagram.
tell you something. I am so not worried about that because let me tell you something. If anybody, I sound like Charles Barkley. I got to stop saying that. Anybody that podcast, it could be a very lonely space. So if I get caught up in like numbers or anything like that, especially when you're starting out, you will fizzle out. The reason why our podcast has been successful is because we really are learning out loud. Like, if nothing else happens, we've learned something that could benefit our family. I have a 8-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter and a wife, and I have to take care of these women. So it is my job as head of the household from my seat to make sure that we are staying up to date on technology, investments, right? Mom is doing her thing. Everybody plays a part in our household. So for me personally, I'm like, yo, this family won't be left behind. You know what I'm saying? So if I got a podcast about it just to keep us up to speed, and I hit up my wife and like, hey friend, look, this is happening, it just works. So that's what really keeps me going. So I'm never going to be the one to jump on here and be like, find me.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is, if you do want to find us, Danielle's a plug. I rock with Danielle.
But I'm gonna say fine,
sure.
because again, we're not gonna get
sure.
left behind.
Oh, no.
That's what's most important out here is that we're getting the information we need. We're getting it from a trusted source. We getting it in a way that we can digest, a way that we can implement and understand. So that's we appreciate you so much and the work that you're doing. Again, the damn podcast _ on Instagram. Look out for the news breaks too.
I didn't say too many of these interviews. We're gonna start throwing these flowers back at you. You see what I'm saying? Like, you've created a platform, you're giving folks a spotlight. It's Facebook today. CNN, major network tomorrow.
It's all about community.
So,
like you said, it's all about the advancement of our community. And so I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to have folks like you to support and make it easy for me.
All good.
Well, I appreciate you. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Yes, sir.
Keep us posted on the next events coming up the end of this month. We got the conference coming up in June.
Yep.
Stay tuned.
Thank you,
Thanks so